This is the dark side of Muncie, the unsolved murder of William Gene Burton. Muncie, Indiana, in the winter of 1997. Life moved quietly. The days was cold. The nights came early. And beneath a railroad trestle near the White River, a teenage boy's life came to a sudden end. His name was William Gene Burton. He was 16 years old, and more than 25 years later, no one has been charged for his murder. This episode is not about rumors. It is not about blame. It's about who William was, what is known about his final hours, and why his story still matters. This episode is based on police statements, newspaper reportings, and information shared by people close to William. No individual has been convicted for this case. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. This episode is told to honor the victims, not to accuse or speculate. So let's focus on who William was as a person. Before William Burton became a headline, he was just a kid growing up in Muncie. He lived with his mother on the north side of town. Their life wasn't flashy. It wasn't easy, but it was real. Built around routine, school, work, shared meals, and quiet moments that only mattered once they're gone. William attended Southside High School. He wasn't a troublemaker. He wasn't violent. People who knew him described him as loving, outgoing, and kind-hearted. He noticed people. He cared deeply. If someone needed help, William tried to give it, even when he didn't have much himself. He also worked. At just 16 years old, William had a job as a telemarketer, selling replacement windows. It wasn't glamorous work, but he took pride in it. Earning his own money made him feel responsible, independent, and grown. But William also carried something heavier than most teenagers. William was homosexual, and in 1997, that came with fear. This was a time when being openly gay, especially as a teenage boy in a Midwestern city, was not widely accepted. There was no safe spaces, no online communities, and no easy support system. For many young men like William, silence wasn't a choice. It was survival. William's mother knew who her son was. She loved him. She accepted him. But she worried, not because of William, but because of the world he had to move through. That fear would turn out to be justified. William wasn't alone. He had close friends who loved him deeply. One of them friends' name was Jamie. Jamie later said Williams was more than a friend. He was family. William was supposed to be a godfather to her son. That meant trust. That meant love. That meant she believed William would always be there. They talked every night. In the days before he was killed, William sounded happy. Jamie said William said he was excited. He was supposed to meet someone, a guy. He was looking forward to it. He didn't sound scared. He didn't sound worried. He sounded hopeful. According to people close to William, when his body was found, he allegedly had a phone number in his pocket. Friends believed it belonged to someone he planned to meet that night. The details come from friends, not police conclusions, but that mattered because they show who William was in his final days. A teenager still believing in connections. The days before his death. In the days leading up to William's death, nothing appeared out of the ordinary. There was no warning signs, no public arguments, no signs that something terrible was about to happen. William was just living his life. He went to work, he came home, he talked to friends, he made plans. To everyone watching from the outside, it was just another week in a teenager's life. But after William was gone, his mother remembered one moment that never left her. One evening, not long before his death, she noticed a car parked near the trailer. It caught her attention because it didn't belong there. It wasn't a neighbor car. It wasn't familiar. William had just gotten off work. She watched him step outside. She saw him walking in the direction of the car. Nothing about it felt right to her. But at the moment, there was no reason to stop him. He was 16. He was just trying to grow up. He was just trying to live his life. Then without warning, the car backed up. It pulled away and disappeared. She never learned who was inside. She never knew if William recognized the person or if the person even spoke to him. She never knew why that car had been there at all, but the image stayed with her. Later, when William didn't come home, that moment replayed in her mind over and over again. The car, the timing, the way it felt wrong without being obvious. At first, there was hope. Maybe he was staying with a friend. Maybe plans had changed. Maybe he would walk through the door any minute. But hours passed, and William didn't come home. The discovery. On January 28th, 1997, William Gene Burton was found dead. It was winter in Muncie, the kind of cold that settled to the ground and don't let go. The kind of morning where everything feels still, quiet, and heavy. Near the White River, beneath the railroad trestle, someone came across William's body. The location was close to McCullough Park, but far enough that it felt hidden. A place most people wouldn't normally walk through or stop at. It was secluded, out of sight, easy to miss. When authorities arrived, it was immediately clear that something terrible had happened. William had been shot multiple times in the head. There was no signs this was an accident, no indication that he could have survived the attack. The violence was direct and final. Police quickly ruled his death a homicide. They began securing the area, searching the ground, the riverbank, and the space beneath the trestle. But there was a problem from the start. No weapon was found. No shell casing was immediately recovered. No one came forward and said they seen or heard the shooting happen. The location itself worked against the investigation. The isolation that made it easy to leave William also made it hard to find answers. As word spread, the shock set in. William wasn't a grown man. He wasn't involved in any gangs. He wasn't someone people expect to hear about on the news. He was 16 years old, a high school student, a son, a friend. For his mother, the discovery shattered everything. One day she was waiting for her child to come home. The next, she was told he never would. For investigators, the scene raised immediate questions. Why this location? Why just leave him here? From the very beginning, the discovery of William Gene Burton's body made one thing painfully clear. Someone had taken his life and believed they would get away with it. New information, the last person he planned to see. As investigators continued looking into William's final hours, more details came out. The phone number found in William's pocket was traced. According to information later shared, the number belonged to someone William worked with at the country club. Police also learned that William had been dating a man named Roger Bond at the time. According to the statements given later, Roger Bond was supposed to pick William up that night he was killed. That pickup never happened. Roger later said he and William had gotten into an argument, and because of that, he decided not to pick him up. What happened next raised even more questions. The following morning, Roger Bonds contacted William's mother. He told her that she needed to come to McCullough Park because it looked like Williams was in the river and was dead. Police later located Roger Bonds and brought him in for questioning. Investigators interviewed him. They examined his statement. They looked for evidence connecting him to the crime. But police said they did not have physical evidence tying him to William's murder. No weapon, no forensic proof, no evidence placing him at the scene at the time of the murder. Roger Bond was not charged. Legally, the investigation went no further in that direction. What remained were unanswered questions. Those questions have not been answered. The investigation and then the silence. As investigators continued to work the case, Police acknowledged something that was rarely talked about openly in the 1990s. McCullough Park was known quietly as a place where men sometimes met other men. It wasn't something discussed in public. It wasn't something people spoke about freely. And because of that silence, information was hard to come by. Police confirmed that William had been seen in the area the day before his body was found. He wasn't alone. He was believed to have been with someone else, but that person was never publicly identified. To help generate leads, investigators released a composite sketch of a person of interest. The image was shared with the public in hopes that someone would recognize the face and come forward. And people did call. Tips came from all over. Some sounded promising, some led nowhere. Some raised more questions than answers. But none of those tips led to arrest. Time passed. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. The case slowed. The attention faded. And the silence grew louder. For William's mother, the waiting never stopped. She never stopped hoping someone would speak up. She never stopped believing that someone out there knew exactly what happened to her son. Never stopped carrying the pain of unanswered questions. She lived with the knowledge that someone knew the truth and chose not to share it. Years later, a cross appeared at McCullough Park. It wasn't loud. It didn't come with answers. It was simply there. A quiet reminder that William had lived and that he had been loved and that someone refused to let him be forgotten. But remembrance is not justice, and justice never came. The investigation stalled. The silence remained, and William's story was left unfinished. Tonight, before we end, we pause. Not for the crime, but for the boy. We say his name, William Gene Burton. He was 16. He was loved. He deserved to grow up. He deserved safety. He deserved acceptance. He deserved a future. And he deserved justice. William Gene Burton murder remained unsolved. No arrests, no convictions, no answers. If you have information about William's death, contact local law enforcement. Tonight, we take a moment of silence. Light a candle, say his name. I am Darius Nefarious, and this has been the Dark Side of Muncie. Before we end this episode, it's important to talk about why this case mattered. William Gene Burton was killed in 1997. That was a different time. Back then, being openly homosexual, especially as a teenager, was not widely accepted. People stayed quiet. People hid part of who they was just to stay safe. And when violence happened, it often surrounded by silence. Today we live in a different world. We are in a time where more people are accepted for who they are, where sexual orientations is no longer something that should bring fear, where everyone deserves to live openly, safely, and without shame. That change matters. But cases like William remind us why that progress was needed in the first place. This isn't about the past. It's about remembering what happens when people are made to feel unsafe for simply being who they are. William's story mattered because he was a person, not a label, because he deserved protection, because he deserved to grow up, and because justice should not depend on whether someone fit in or not. We tell this story so his life is not reduced to silence, so his name is not forgotten. And we never go back to a time where fear and stigma takes place of humanity. And his story can be a reminder that acceptance saves lives and that every life deserves justice. I am Darius Nefarious, and this is Dark Side of Muncie.